I'm Matt. I'm the music director at a church called The Well and play in a couple of bands, Map and Compass, This Glass Embrace. And I do these videos on worship tutorials, pedalboard walkthroughs, gear demos. And I had said in my last pedalboard walkthrough that it was possibly the last one. And it really probably could have been the last one because I haven't changed that much. But since I keep getting questions about it, I was like, let me do one more. It'll cover like the 2 new pedals that are on here. Now that I've had the same board for like a year and a half almost, I've really zeroed in on what I use certain pedals for. So I think I'm just going to cover like the 1 or 2 things that I do with them every Sunday and not get into like all of their deep hidden features and stuff because these videos have been creeping longer and longer. So anyway, this is Pedalboard Walkthrough 2019. Probably the last one. I'm really happy with this board and it has held steady for a long time now. Couple notes about the rest of my signal chain. This is my Fender Jim Adkins Telecaster. Still rules. I love it so much. And then the amp on the end is the Atomic Amplifier, which is a digital modeling thing, but it sounds better than all of my other amps. So I sold those and I just use this now. It's all the amps I'm using in this video are the Michael Britt Matchless preset, which you can buy from Michael Britt Profiles. It's awesome. That's almost all I use for this kind of thing. So anyway, here's the pedals. First in line here is a Diamond Comp Junior, which is my compressor. Basically what that does is just even out the pick attack, especially when I'm playing clean things, and just kind of makes everything a little more punchy and sparkly. So like here's my clean sound without the compressor on. So especially a riff like that one where it's just clean and it's a bunch of like individual notes, the compressor really helps it sound more coherent and solid and not just like little plunky notes that I'm playing. And what I've also started doing that is new is I have the volume knob kind of cranked here. I used to have a micro amp second in chain that was giving me a little bit of a boost just almost always on. And finally I was like, why am I having a single, like a boost pedal, just always boosting me a little bit when I could probably just raise the volume on my compressor. So that's what I do these days. It's kind of replacing the whole micro amp with just boosting more off the comp. And then what has taken the physical place is this Ibanez Tube Screamer Mini. And I don't use it a lot. The only time I do is on guitar solos and leads where like I'm already playing with the band at like the appropriate volume, and then for like one part I just need to get a little louder and more obvious in the mix. So the Tube Screamer Mini, I go back and forth on Tube Screamers. I'm not crazy about how they sound just by themselves, but having it really early in the chain like this, I can boost leads with it, and it kind of just adds some mids that help it to be more audible and to have like a little bit more punchiness to it. So that's only on there for if I'm already playing a lead and then I want the lead a little bit more. So if this was my like rhythm sound, and then I needed to go into a lead, I could hit this and like. And it just gives it, I mean, it does make it a little more overdriven, but more what I need out of this pedal is that mid boost to cut through. As opposed to like without it. So that's kind of a really specific like niche use, but I do really like it for that. And then tuner, I've covered it in previous videos, but I have a silencer by Electro-Harmonix underneath the board that's like a hidden noise gate that's always on. And then the Micro POG can do a few things, but the longer that I have it, the only thing I do with it is turn it on for certain leads that are usually just like single note leads that I want to sound a little bit bigger and have a little more like shimmer on top of them. So if this was like a lead that I was playing, but I wasn't happy with, like I wanted it to be just a little bit airier, you can add this octave up here. So it's fairly subtle. If you crank that too much, it's obnoxious. Sounds like a sitar or something. Next up, I have the Source Audio Orbital Modulator. Still holding steady on here. I've had this for a while. And I don't use a ton of modulation, which is why I wanted like a single pedal that could do all of it. So what I have this set up for right now is a chorus. I pretty much always have on this first slot. And then for the other preset slot on this, I usually have like a 4-stage phaser going. But anyway, neither of those gets used a ton. The quad chorus and the 4-stage phaser are my favorites on here. Occasionally I'll bust out a flanger or something. And then the Timmy here, I'm already cheating. I've had that on for the last couple of pedals. The Timmy, I am increasingly liking to have on most of the time unless I'm playing really clean, because without it, it sounds like this. And with it, it's like this. So I kind of, even when I'm playing fairly clean in like a band setting, I still kind of like to have a bit of gain on here. So increasingly I'm using that even on quiet parts. And then what I like about it is with it dialed in with the gain pretty low here, it's mostly just shaping my EQ, giving me like a little bit of grit, and then it responds pretty well to playing dynamics. So electric guitar isn't usually like the most dynamic instrument, but I can get more grit out of it by digging in harder. So if the song starts and it's, you know, and then I want to start building. It gets hairier like the harder I hit it, so that's kind of nice. And then my second stage where I really want to get overdriven is still this Snouse Black Box. And what I've started doing is I leave the Timmy on and stack it into this because I still like the EQ like work that this is doing. It's trimming out a lot of bass. That's mainly what I'm doing here. And then if I hit the Black Box also, I'd get like a similar tone, but just more of it. So without the Black Box, just the Timmy, it's like about this heavy. And then with. And then while I'm talking about drives, I'll skip ahead here. I do have this Rat on here still. I'm not using the Rat as like a primary sound. What I kind of like it for is like a chaotic fuzz. So I have the distortion cranked pretty high here. And I basically at this point mostly use it for leads where I really want the guitar to just go friggin' nuts. So. obviously if I back the distortion off, I can still use it as like a normal sounding thing. But that sound doesn't come up as often for the type of things that I'm doing. And then, let's see, this is my volume pedal. Still a Dunlop DVP4 or whatever, the mini. It's doing its job. This trem is still on here by way of a tremolo. So I don't use it a lot, but tremolo is cool. It's nice to have for the very rare occasions where it's necessary. And then Nemesis delay is still my primary delay here. It's laughable how little I use of the capabilities of this pedal, because it's so deep and it has like 24 engines you can use and up to 8 presets, and everything's fine-tunable using the app and stuff. And I have basically like 2 sounds on it that I use for everything. So this is my resonant analog, typical delay setting here. So that's almost all I use it for. I have the exact same setting, but with fewer repeats, in case the delay is muddying up the song too much. But that's like almost all that I do with it. And then I do have a dotted eighth setting for pretty much one specific song. It's the one that plays at the intro of these videos. So that's a tape dotted eighth with the like repeat up really high. But I would say like 80% of the time it's just this setting. And then really one of the only actually new pedals on here is the Strymon El Capistan, which I finally got. And to be totally honest, it's not because there's anything it can do that like the Nemesis probably couldn't do. I just always really wanted one. The Strymon El Capistan is such a legendary like ambient pedal. So I just got one. There's not really any justification for why it's on here other than I just really like it. But what I've started doing is I use the Nemesis as my, like, I'm playing a lot and it's a rhythmic, like a riff or something, subtle delay. And then I use the El Capistan when I want to go like really spacey. So I have it on a multi setting that's doing, I think, quarter and dotted eighth repeats. Yeah, there they are. And that it's really great for more held out ambient things. So And then it sounds especially good with like some reverb on. And then my other favorite thing about the Strymon El Capistan, and this is kind of a goofy use for it, but I swear I use it anytime I can, is if you hold down the tap button, it'll self-oscillate into like a wash of sound. And so I especially like it on like chaotic, heavy ends of songs to just mash that and let it like dissolve into a whole mess of stuff. So something like this. So that's not useful all the time, but it does entertain me a lot. And then my reverb here is still my most favorite reverb in the world, blueSky. Almost always on the normal and room settings here with like medium mix and a long decay. So I like that a lot. It's still just wonderful. And then the final thing I have on here is still this Ditto Looper, and still use it for much the same thing, just kind of making ambient washes of sound by looping a silent bit first. And then turn on a bunch of delays and stuff. Doing stuff like this in the background. And then once I have that built, I can just run it in the background and play stuff over it. But yeah, that's the board. Those of you who follow these things will notice the only things that are legitimately new are the El Capistan and the Tube Screamer. I'm very happy with this setup. It's super flexible. I can get pretty much any sound I want out of it. I think that's going to be stable for the foreseeable future. Anyway, if you enjoyed anything you saw here, always check out my other videos if you want. All the riffs that I played in this video are from the new This Glass Embrace album, which is the most recent recording I played on. So you can check that out if you want. That's not actually church music, but there's enough overlap in terms of effects and stuff. Otherwise, Map and Compass is still my worship band if you need stuff like that. And hope you enjoyed.